I've been in marketing and advertising for over 8 years now. And in that time, there's some knowledge and insights that I've gathered, which I really wish that I knew when I first started. So today I'm going to share what I call the immutable laws of advertising with you here in this video. Younger me, this one's for you. Let's get started. These are the 10 immutable laws of advertising in my personal experience. And this is going to be a two-part video just because I feel like if I crammed all 10 into one video, it would just be way too long. So let's start with some disclaimers. These are broad general concepts, so don't take these as gospel. These are applicable to any niche, I feel like. These are more high level, broad, all-encompassing laws. Whether you're a content creator or running an e-commerce brand, what have you, I feel like this can apply. This is just big picture, high level stuff for your company and your brand. I'm going to give a brand example, just hammer each point home and make it easy to digest. And this list is non-exhaustive and subject to change. This is just what I have gathered up to this point, but we are ever growing and ever learning, so these can change at any time. Let's start with number 1, speak to your audience. What does that mean? The most successful brands cater their advertising to the viewers most likely to convert to a purchase. You need to really understand who your audience is and who in that audience is most likely to buy your product. If you just market towards a demographic that is not likely to buy your product or has no interest in doing business with you, then you're not going to make money, you're not going to do volume, and you're not going to stay in business for very long. Case in point, Stanley tumblers. Stanley used to be the rugged, masculine, hardworking, blue-collar man's brand, and this was their original marketing style where they say how durable it is and that it's perfect for somebody like a coal miner who's having this rugged job where a lot of things can get rough, and so they need this really tough vacuum-sealed tumbler to keep them company and be reliable for them. Nowadays, you look at Stanley and it's completely changed their entire image because around 5 years ago, there was a sudden shift in who was buying their product. Now it's mostly women, so they had to change their entire brand image and even their products and their marketing to cater towards the new customers that are buying from them. If they just stayed with this kind of imagery with the tough bottle and aimed at masculine men and kind of rugged persona, well, these aren't the people that are buying from them anymore. They're not doing any favors to the company by staying with that. That's why they had to pivot to this. So Stanley moved away from focusing on blue-collar workers and began targeting women who needed hydration on the go. And that's why you go on their website and you have much more softer colors, soft tones. I mean, this is how their products look, but as you see, it's very colorful and friendly and just it's more feminine than it was before. And they're really catering to that. And this could change at any point. So just because your brand image is one thing and your audience is one type of demographic doesn't mean it's going to stay like that forever. It could change at any time, but you need to be ready to change with that. And for that reason, Stanley targets those who are most likely to buy from them, which is women. So if they didn't change this and they stuck with the same thing forever and they assumed that their audience was the same as before, then they would be in terrible shape right now. But as of today, their new audience is what's keeping them alive and doing very well. Number 2, know your product and what it provides. So if you have an advertising agency coming in, you want them to ask you 100 million questions about your product. What are the benefits? What problems are you solving? And what does the product provide to the end user, to the customer? That's very important because you are effectively connecting your company with the customer via your marketing, and the common thread there is the product. And so how are you going to translate that from what you offer to what the customer is seeking from you? Learn what it is you offer inside and out, and then demonstrate the problem it solves or what it provides. So we have GoPro here. GoPro came in at a time when there was no action cameras whatsoever. All you had was kind of point and shoot digital cameras maybe that were very fragile, sensitive, and didn't have any stabilization. GoPro comes in and says, what's the problem? Well, there's people that are doing extreme sports that want to capture the footage, and there's no suitable camera for them to do that. Let's offer this action camera that has stabilization in it, that has protection in it. It's rugged. You can easily mount it to helmets or what have you. And also it's waterproof, so it can withstand being submerged in water, which there's, people for scuba diving or what have you. That's a huge benefit. So GoPro reminds you of the problem: shaky action footage taken with fragile cameras. Then they sell you the solution: a durable, portable, stabilized action camera. So you see here in this billboard, they show you this little jittery graph here. And then this is pre-GoPro, this jittery graph. And then post, when you buy your GoPro and you start using it, you're going to have this stable, super stable footage. Shaky video is dead. So they're coming and they're solving shaky video. They tell you what's the problem. The problem is shaky video. Well, after you buy a GoPro, that's going to not be a problem anymore. We are solving that problem with this product. Now, the longevity of their solution is another story, because there's a lot of competition nowadays. And GoPro, I don't know as they're as good a shape as they are before as they are today. But they burst onto the scene with the exact messaging needed. There was really no action cameras when they first started. So they became kind of a household name by coming in and solving this problem that no one had actually bothered to solve yet. Now, number 3, know your brand identity. It's very important that you develop an identity and you develop kind of colors and fonts and imagery, and your brand is almost like a person. You need to design who this person is. You need to know their characteristics, their personality, and kind of their entire spectrum of what your brand is. So let's go to our example here. But first, let's remind you that you want to keep identity consistent. So build an identity. If you don't have an identity, you need to start building an identity, because a brand with no identity is not going to be sticky to the customer. It's just going to be a commodity. It's going to be disposable. You need to really think, who is my brand? What kind of person is it? What kind of personality does it have? What does it like to showcase about itself the most? Build an identity if you don't have an identity already. It allows customers to get familiar and build trust with you, because over time, they're going to be much more comfortable with your brand when they know who the persona of your brand is, who the identity is. So this is very important, actually. And case in point, Alo Yoga. I think Alo's done a great job. It's a very new brand, but they've done a great job of coming in and really having this identity and knowing who they are. They somewhat cater to influencers, but they also know that these are my colors. This is my persona. This is my characteristics. This is what I am. I am these, muted colors and soft, kind of very feminine, very warm imagery. And what am I offering? I'm offering freedom. I'm offering some kind of comfort and also technology in the fabrics. And this is why they're stealing a lot of business from Lululemon, because they are offering this consistent imagery, which Lulu also does, but I feel like Alo does a lot better job of it. They cater towards people that are seeking premium products. They want this kind of consistent image of their products that are across the entire line, very identifiable with one another. You gotta take some Alo shorts and you can recognize them. They match very well with the other Alo tops and shirts that they buy. It's just very consistent and very compatible with one another. So this is all part of having an identity. It's having things that don't clash within your brand. If they had color tones that are neon green or super bright, they have pastel, but if they have super bright blue, turquoise or something, it's not gonna mesh well with these muted, earthy kind of colors and tones. And so Alo knows their product colors, their design cues and materials, the type, the fit, the design, the patterns, etc., which keeps the product experience strong. Everything is consistent. Everything is very unified. And in case you're thinking this conflicts with number 1, because I'm saying that know your brand identity, that doesn't mean your identity is going to be your identity forever. Your identity can change if your audience changes. If the people buying your product all of a sudden changes, you had better change with that, because the ones buying your product now are the ones keeping you in business. So your identity is fluid, but it should stay as is for as long as possible. Only when something like a Stanley event happens where your entire demographic changes should you somewhat change your identity to cater to that. As a rule of thumb, develop your identity and maintain it, and then build that customer base and just keep growing that, and let them get familiar with you. Let them get to know you. Let their kids get to know you generation upon generation. This is how companies continue to thrive forever, because they build an identity and they know who they are, and they cater their entire image and their marketing, their slogans, their fonts, their colors. These are all crucial details that should be maintained. And the identity is the foundation of that. That's the bedrock. Number 4 is make it clear. And this is also very important, because customers, they don't have all the time in the world to decipher your brand and what you're trying to offer to them. If you make it complex and complicated, they're just going to move on. Especially nowadays, people's attention spans are not getting any longer. So you really need to make it very efficient what you are trying to express to the customer. You need to see where you can trim down words or simplify words, or maybe turn words into an image, because an image is a lot more efficient than a bunch of words. If you just flash an image, that's going to get your point across a lot better. So make it clear what you are offering and who you are. And of course, one of the best brands that do this is Apple. They translate their message into the simplest and easiest to understand type of message for the customer. So we have iPod here, 1,000 songs in your pocket. And this has always stuck with me as just brilliant, because they could have said, this is an iPod and it has 1 gigabyte of storage and it has this kind of speed and this and that brightness. But no, they take all of that and they translate into what the customer actually cares about, which is how many songs can I carry with me. And so this one sentence, 1,000 songs in your pocket, is just such a maximization of efficiency of what the product is conveying to you. It's not going to say 1 gigabyte of storage and 8 hours of charge time. I mean, they have that as well for the technical people that are seeking that. But for the really where you're pouring all of your money in these big ad campaigns, you really want to make it as efficient as possible, and don't just express a bunch of jargon that you're going to lose people in. So keep it very simple. 1,000 songs in your pocket. It's just totally brilliant. So like I said, you only have so many seconds of attention. Don't squander with over complexity. Your customers don't need to know all the jargon and the small details. Some will want to seek that out, but for the main audience, keep it very simple. Like this, privacy, that's iPhone. Literally 3 words. They're not going to say this iPhone has this type of encryption and has end-to-end messaging encryption, blah, blah, blah. It won't be nearly as successful if they try to do that. So really put yourself into the shoes of the customer. Think that they are just a total lay person. They don't have any insight into the technical details and the jargon and the specialized vocabulary of your emphasis point. Just say as little as you can that is truthful and clear and conveys the message, and then you can explain that later in like technical specs and things of that nature. So that's keeping it clear. And then the final point for this video is that remember that conversion is the objective, and this is really kind of the spine of all of advertising, because a lot of companies make the mistake of trying to have a funny ad or a memorable ad or an ad that can turn into a meme or maybe an artistic expression. And no, you're not here to be an artist. You're here to make sales. You're here to convert the customer. So always keep that in mind. One company that literally converts the customer to their side is T-Mobile. So they tell you that we will pay for your termination fees if you switch. If you ditch AT&T, we will literally pay the fees that you incur for ditching them and to come over to our side. So they are literally converting the customer. Like I said, you're not here to entertain, make an artistic statement. You're here to convince people to do business with you. Always keep that in mind. Always have that in the back of your mind lingering. Whenever you make an ad campaign, always remember the end goal is conversion, making the viewer into a customer. That is paramount. That is number one. That should really actually be number one. But that is definitely the foundation of your advertising. Companies that don't remember to keep guiding prospects through the funnel eventually die. No matter what business you are, the end goal is a sale. It doesn't matter if you're an e-commerce store. It doesn't matter if you're a content creator. It doesn't matter if you're a Fortune 500 company. The end goal is a sale, is a conversion. Are you with us? Literally, they are trying to convert you to their side. Like you're on another side, they're trying to bring you to their side. So when you're persuading viewers, you are asking them to not only ditch other options, because they may be considering other options. Maybe the customer that they're catering to here, they don't even have a phone yet. They don't even have a carrier yet. So they're considering every option. And you are asking them as a brand to ditch all those options, make the choice to leave those behind and come to us. Or maybe even to switch because they might be with a carrier already. And once a customer is working in a continuous business with something like a phone provider, it's very hard to get them to switch because people have inertia. To break that momentum is very difficult. And so you need to have a very compelling reason for them to do that. And I think T-Mobile has been very successful in this. The whole breakup with your carrier campaign has been really, really super successful. And there's a lot we can learn from that. T-Mobile literally converts customers to join their side and break up with the previous option. So those were the first 5 laws. Stay tuned for the follow-up. I'll have a part 2 to this video coming very soon. And let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I'd love to have your insights as well. And stay tuned for the next video. I'll see you then.